Good afternoon, my fellow members, and welcome to OMISTA Credit Union's 2020 Annual General Meeting. I'm Claire Fanning, and I'll be chairing the meeting for you this afternoon. As you know, the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions dictated that OMISTA have a fully remote AGM again this year. Before we get to our official agenda, I'd like to welcome back and introduce you to Catherine Herrick, who will be our moderator once again. Catherine will now share with you some basic information about how the meeting will work.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I am delighted to be back here for the second totally virtual AGM for OMISTA. Now remember when Zoom meant driving your car really fast? You remember that, Claire? And when you only wore pajama bottoms to bed instead of work? Well, here we are in our new reality. And like all things 2020, persevering together is the key. And in that cooperative spirit, join me as we have a look at how you can take part in this afternoon's meeting, now that you are all Zoom pros.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Q&A, or question and answer button, is at the bottom of most screens. This is your channel to us. To make a comment or ask a question, use the Q&A button. That way we can gather your questions and comments and provide them to the chair. Chat can be used to say hello to the presenters and other members and guests in the audience. And when we get to voting, you will see a screen like this. Just click the button to the left of your choice and hit Submit. After a brief period of time, you'll see the results. Finally, if you run into any trouble with this virtual format, contact our technical support team of Blake Reynolds at 381-9365, that's 381-9365, or Alex Maudsley at 233-1301, 233-1301. They are standing by to help you. Thank you for your attention and your patience. Now back to the chair.
Thank you, Catherine. And before I call the meeting to order, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to remember and honor members, friends, family, and colleagues lost over the past year. Let's also use this moment to be together in solidarity, to recognize the hurt being experienced in our world today, and to silently acknowledge the Indigenous people of our beautiful provincial lands, which we all share. Thank you, everyone. I'll now call the meeting to order. At all meetings of the credit union, 14 members shall constitute a quorum. Catherine, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 70 participants.
Wonderful. Okay, with 70 members in attendance, under our bylaws, a quorum is confirmed. Please take note that this virtual meeting is being recorded while presented. I would now like to appoint Joanne Beliveau, Executive Assistant, as the recording secretary for this evening's meeting, as well as David Morehouse, Atlantic Central's Director of Legal and Corporate Services, as our parliamentarian. During the pre-show and immediately before the commencement of the meeting, Instructions were provided regarding how to ask a question, how to move or second motions, and participate in votes. Before I proceed, are there any further questions or any clarifications you may require on procedures? If so, please type your question into the Q&A. We'll pause for a moment and await any questions you might have.
There appear to be no questions, Madam Chair.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Since there's no more questions, we'll just continue on. Provided in the downloadable meeting documents was a copy of the agenda, which is soon to be displayed on the screen. May I have a motion to approve the agenda and to permit the chair to change its order if necessary?
So we are looking for a mover and a seconder to the motion to approve the agenda. To do so, please enter I move or I second that into the Q&A box located on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. And we have the motion has been moved by Juliana Reed and seconded by Allison Clipperton.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? If so, please use the Q&A box to type again any questions you may have, and we'll pause again for a moment to allow time for your questions.
It's okay, Sean McKinley. We understand sometimes chat and Q&A get confusing. Q&A is where we want your seconding and your movers. The movers and the seconders, we want them in the Q&A box. So we don't have any, no questions.
Questions?
Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. So everyone, you should now see a poll on your screen coming up. I'll ask all members to please vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
So just a reminder, you're picking the yay, nay, or abstain and hitting the submit button in the bottom right-hand corner. Yes, thank you, Sean McKinley, for showing us what we shouldn't do. As soon as we have the results, we will share them with you.
Okay, there you go, 100%. So as you can see displayed on the screen, the motion is carried, the agenda has been approved, and we've successfully conducted our first motion. So I'd now like to pass things over to Catherine, our moderator, for the introduction of your board of directors and presenters.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am pleased to now introduce you to the OMISTA Credit Union's present board of directors.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me present to you the board of OMISTA Credit Union. Claire Fanning, Director and Board Chairperson. Jack Lowe, Director, Board Vice Chairperson, Audit Committee Vice Chairperson, and Governance Committee Bylaw Review Lead. George Butters, Director and Board Secretary. William Hanson, or Bill, Director, past Chairperson of the Board and the Governance Committee Chairperson. Rayanne Brennan, Director. Robert Carson, Director and Chairperson of the Sustainability Committee. Robert Christie, Director, Governance Committee Vice Chairperson and Nominating Committee Vice Chairperson. Ajit Gautam, Director and Audit Committee Chairperson. Simon Pacey, Director, Nominating Committee Chairperson and Vice Chairperson of the Sustainability Committee. Tammy Christopher, Chief Executive Officer. Asha Jamula, Director of Finance and Risk. Carrie Blair, External Auditor, KPMG. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Catherine. So we'll now move on to agenda topic 5, which is approval of the minutes of the 2019 annual general meeting. Provided in the downloadable meeting documents was a copy of the minutes. If in order, may I have a motion for their approval?
So we are looking for a mover and a seconder. Oh, wow, they're fast. Tricia Lever has so moved and Samuel McGrath has seconded.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Again, please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have. We'll pause again for a moment to allow time for your questions.
There appears to be no questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, so you should now see a poll coming up on your screen. I'll ask that all members vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
I could do the Jeopardy sound if you want.
Yes, I know, we need a little music in there.
Next year.
Okay.
And the result.
All right, as you can see on your screen, the motion is carried. The minutes of the 2019 AGM have been approved. So we'll now move on to item number 6A of our agenda. I'd like to call upon Simon Pacey, Chair of the Nominating Committee.
In accordance with our OMISTA bylaws, Article 4, subsection 7, the Board of Directors appointed one director throughout 2020 to fill a vacant position. We are required to ratify this position this afternoon. On September 8th, 2020, Director Julia Feltham submitted her resignation from the board. Director Feltham had served 2 years and 8 months of a 3-year term. On September 28th, 2020, the board appointed Rayanne Brennan to the board of directors to complete the remainder of Director Feltham's term, which ends at today's annual general meeting. Madam Chair, I move the ratification of Rayanne Brennan to the board of directors to complete the remainder of the term vacated by Julia Feltham.
Thank you, Simon. So may I please have a seconder to this motion to ratify Rayanne Brennan to the board of directors?
We have a seconder, Madam Chair. Richard Vaillancourt, very fast on the keyboard, has
It
seconded.
was very fast. Okay, thank you, Catherine. Is there any discussion on the motion? Again, please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you might have, and we'll take a couple of moments to wait for any questions.
And as you see, Simon Pacey's waiting for any questions that may come up. Doesn't appear there are any questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, with that, we'll put the voting poll up then. And again, we'll ask you to vote by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
Feel free to hum, Simon. You
Mm.
have to unmute
Oh,
yourself.
I thought you were going to say me. That wasn't going to be good. This is usually when my dogs start barking.
All right.
Quiet on a video.
There we
All
have
right, very good. So you can see on the screen, the motion is carried. Rayanne Brennan has been ratified to the board of directors. And Simon, you could proceed with your agenda item 6B, the results of our board of directors election.
In accordance with the current bylaws, the Board of OMISTA Credit Union shall be comprised of a total of 9 directors, 7 of whom shall reside in and have an account at one of the branches situated in the Moncton area, and 2 of whom shall reside in and have an account at one of the branches situated in either Fredericton or Oromocto. Generally, directors serve for a 3-year term and are eligible for re-election, but are not eligible to serve for more than 9 consecutive years. The terms of 3 Moncton area directors positions are expiring today at today's 2020 annual general meeting. These positions were held by Robert Carson, Jack Lowe, and Rayanne Brennan, who was just ratified to complete Julia Feltham's remaining term. Mr. Carson has completed 3 consecutive 3-year terms and therefore has reached the 9-year limit. Robert is therefore not eligible for re-election. Both Jack Lowe and Rayanne Brennan are eligible for re-election. There is one Moncton area director who has submitted his resignation effective today, William Bill Hanson. Bill has served on OMISTA's board for several years and is officially retiring. There is one Fredericton area director who has relocated out of province and therefore no longer eligible to serve on OMISTA's board. Effective today, George Butters will retire after 8 years of service to OMISTA. A call for nominations was placed on December 22nd, 2020 to fill these positions. As of the close of nominations on March 16th, 2021, we received the following nominations for the 4 available Moncton seats: Rayanne Brennan, Pat Duffield, Francis LeBlanc, Jack Lowe, Linda Schofield, and Darlene Smith. And for the 1 available Fredericton area seat, we received a nomination for Shawnee Beaulieu. All candidates have been appropriately vetted and meet all the requirements to serve on the board of directors. As of March 17th, the day following the close of nominations, members were invited to virtually meet our candidates through our website. The candidates were introduced with a photo, biography, and summary of qualifications. With only 1 nomination to the Fredericton area seat, Shawnee Beaulieu, who has been elected by acclamation. With 5 nominations received for the 4 available Moncton area seats, an election was held. Online and in-branch voting were held from 10 a.m. on March 26th through noon on March 30th. I am pleased to report the results this afternoon of that election. Please join me in congratulating Rayanne Brennan, Pat Duffield, Francis LeBlanc, and Jack Lowe. Thank you to all candidates for your willingness to serve your credit union, and to our members for your active engagement in the democratic election process. Madam Chair, this is the report of the nominating committee. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Simon, and a warm welcome to all of our newly elected directors. Are there any questions regarding Simon's report? Please use the Q&A box to type in any questions you may have, and we'll pause for a moment to allow time for your questions.
There are no questions, Madam Chair.
All right, we're moving right along then. So with that, we're moving on to agenda item number 7. I'll now call on Jack Lowe, Governance Committee and Lead Director of the Bylaw Review, to take us through our proposed bylaw amendments.
Fellow members, it's my pleasure to present our revised bylaws for your approval. First, a little background. The province of New Brunswick in July 2019 passed the new and revised Credit Unions Act with an implementation date of January 1st, 2020. The Superintendent of Credit Unions advised all New Brunswick credit unions that they have until June 30th, 2021 to revise their bylaws and obtain approval by their members. We took this opportunity to do an in-depth review of our current bylaws. We were assisted by Atlantic Central, who developed a document titled Credit Union Model Bylaws for New Brunswick. Using the Act and these model bylaws, we drafted a revised document for OMISTA. The changes to the existing bylaws include not only changes required by the new Act, but also the ordering and numbering of the articles and paragraphs, grammatical errors, removal of certain paragraphs that were inappropriate to be included in a bylaw document, and adding articles we believe to be appropriate. In the revised document, all paragraphs are sequentially numbered, making it easier to make changes in the future should such changes arise. We obtained the pre-approval of the complete and revised bylaw document on March 12, 2021 from the Superintendent. I'd like to discuss more significant changes made to the existing bylaws. Number 1, patronage dividends are no longer required to be approved by our members at our AGMs. Under Section 48 of the Act, the issue of patronage dividends requires the approval of the board only. Number 2, OMISTA issued Class C preferred shares several years ago. They were issued with all the appropriate authorities. However, they were never included in our bylaws. They are now included in Article 4.18 of the revised bylaws. Number 3. We added a new section starting at paragraph 4.08 titled Class AA Preferred Shares because we wanted the ability to raise capital. These shares will be offered for sale to members from time to time. Approval of the superintendent is required prior to any issue of these shares. Number 4, Article 4.2 sub 1 sub A and Article 5.1 sub 1 of the existing bylaws refer to a requirement that the board consist of at least 2 directors from the Oromocto or Fredericton area. With regard to residency, the only requirement of the new bylaws is that a director must reside in New Brunswick. Number 5. Article 6, paragraph 1 sub 2 of the existing bylaws refers to material contracts and conflicts of interest. The revised bylaws contain a much expanded Article 9 on material contracts and conflict of interest. An example of inappropriate paragraphs would be those included in existing Article 7 entitled Audit Committee. This lengthy section included many paragraphs that had to do with the processes of that committee. We shortened this section to paragraphs 6.57 and 6.58 and added a new Article 10 titled Auditor. The processes followed by the Audit Committee are set out in that committee's mandate. Taking together all the changes in the revised and important document, we believed it necessary to hold 2 information meetings prior to this AGM. We believed that doing a detailed review of the revised bylaws at this meeting would not be efficient. Having said that, we will answer any questions you may have once we have made the motion to adopt the revised bylaws of OMISTA Credit Union. Madam Chair, I move the adoption of the bylaw changes as presented and included in the members' information packages.
Thank you, Jack. So as Jack has stated, we'll take questions once we have the motion recorded. So may I have a seconder to this motion to accept the bylaw amendments as presented?
So we are looking for a seconder to Jack's motion. Wow, is that fast?
They're a fast group.
They are. Stephanie McGrath has seconded that motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, so with that, we'll now take questions and comments regarding the bylaw amendments. So in order to do this in an organized fashion, we're going to take questions in order of the articles. Are there any questions or comments regarding Articles 1 through 4 of the amended bylaws?
We are looking for any questions on Articles 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the new bylaws. To ask a question, you know what to do. Put it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Oh, there's someone. 2 people raised their hands. I'm just going to look at that here. We have 2 attendees who raised their hands. If you could put your names in the Q&A. Just indicate you would like to speak. What we can do is then open your mic so you can speak if you want to verbally send in your questions rather than typing them in. But you need to let us know who you are. Do we know who you are? Oh, Peter Pacey and Charles Lawson. So George, I don't know if you can find Charles Lawson for a question. And Peter Pacey, both have their hands up.
I have allowed Mr. Lawson to turn on his microphone if he wishes to speak.
Okay, so Mr. Lawson, if you turn on your microphone, you may ask your question. That means that it's the little microphone icon on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. It has a little microphone. It says mute underneath. Just click that. There you go.
Sorry about that. I hit the button by mistake.
Okay. So what is your question, Mr. Lawson?
No, sorry about that. I hit the button by mistake.
Oh, you hit the hands up button. Okay. Well, nice to hear from you anyway. How are you
Well,
doing?
now that you're on here, though, you must ask a question. Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome.
Okay, and Peter Pacey, do you have a question? So Peter, you have to unmute your mic.
I thought I did unmute
There you
myself.
go. Nice to hear you,
Can you
Peter.
speak? You too. It's good to see you, Catherine. Where's George?
He's stuck in the show.
Oh, okay. Right on. Anyway, my mistake as well. I'm sorry. I'm not as technologically savvy as a lot of people. I'm glad to be here, and but it's a difficult thing to master. But I'm enjoying the meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
Nice
we're glad you're here, Peter. It wouldn't be an AGM without you.
Without hearing me laugh too.
That's right.
That's right. Thank you for that. That's
Okay.
great. And
Wonderful.
Simon, nice to
Thank
see
you.
your dad here.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think we're no more questions then, Catherine.
There are no more questions, but we tested our system and it
We
worked.
tested our system and it worked
Awesome.
out. Okay. So with that, we're going to ask if there's any questions or comments regarding Article 5 or Article 6 of the amended bylaws.
So we are looking for any questions on Article 5 or Article 6 of the amended bylaws. And remember, you use your Q&A button to send in your question or raise your hand if you want to speak to it. Okay, there are no questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, no questions on 5 or 6. So going to the last group, are there any questions or comments regarding Articles 7 through Article 11 of the amended bylaws?
We are looking for any questions on Articles 7 through 11 of the amended bylaws. Any questions? There are no questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, it's a well-informed group. They don't need to know anything more. So everybody, as a reminder, the motion on the floor is to approve the amended bylaws as presented. So please take note that the bylaw amendments require a special resolution as per the Credit Union Act. A special resolution is a resolution passed by 2/3 or more of the votes cast by the persons who voted in respect of that resolution. Therefore, a 2/3 majority is required on this vote. So before we proceed, are there any further discussions on the motion or clarifications required on the special resolution? Use the Q&A box if anything's come to mind, and we'll stop again for a moment before we put up the poll.
There appears to be no questions, Madam Chair.
Okey-doke. So you should now see a poll coming up on your screen. I'll ask that everybody votes now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
We should see those results pretty quickly. There we are.
Okay, my math's not great, but that looks like more than 2/3.
I
So
would say you have 2/3.
we do have our 2/3 majority for the special resolution for the bylaw amendments, and that's been approved. So thank you, everybody. Moving on to item 8 on our agenda, recommendations of the board. As per our bylaws, Article 5.05, subsection A, subsection 4, At each AGM, we must approve the maximum annual amount to be paid to directors as remuneration for the performance of their duties during the current fiscal year. Included in note 16 of the audited financial statement, we've reported the amount paid for 2020 to be $66,490, down from 2019's amount of $96,765. Much of this reduction was due to shifting to virtual board meetings during COVID. We anticipate this amount will return to pre-COVID levels and are therefore setting the maximum aggregate amount of remuneration and reimbursement to directors the same as last year at $125,000 for the 2021 fiscal year. So may I ask for a motion to approve the maximum aggregate amount of remuneration and reimbursement to directors at $125,000 for the 2021 fiscal year. This
has been moved. I'm going to say Darlene Smith is moving it. We're looking for a second. Richard Vaillancourt is seconding that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, both of you. So we've got a mover and a seconder. Is there any discussion on the motion? Again, please use your Q&A box to type in any questions you may have, and we'll wait a moment to give you time to do that.
There appears to be no questions, Madam Chair.
All right then, so we'll put the poll up on the screen and ask everybody to vote now by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
I'm all for using that 30,000 that you saved for a big street party when all COVID is all over.
I think we're all going to be ready for that.
Okay.
So there you go, it's up on the screen. So the motion has been approved. Moving now on to the appointment of our external auditors. Your board are once again recommending that KPMG LLP be appointed external auditors for the 2021 fiscal year. I'm asking for a motion to appoint the external auditors of KPMG LLP for the upcoming 2021 fiscal year.
So we are looking for a mover and a seconder on the motion to appoint KPMG LLP as external auditors for the 2021 fiscal year. So moved by Juliana Reed, seconded by Rayanne Brennan.
Thanks, Catherine. Any discussion on the motion? So again, use your Q&A box to type in any questions you might have, and we'll wait again a few minutes or moments to see if there are any questions.
It appears there are no questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, we're getting into real routine here. So now we're going to put the poll up on your screen, and please vote by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
There is a question, but it went in the chat. Bad, Francis LeBlanc, bad.
Okay.
We will still answer it, however. Just curious, how long has the same company been the auditors? How long has KPMG been the auditors for the credit union?
Trying to remember how long that is, but I'm sure Tammy knows right off.
Tammy can jump in there.
It's been approximately 5 years, and it's almost time to go to tender again.
There you go. Does that answer your question, Francis? Thank you. He or she says.
I believe that's Francis, our new director, asking that question.
Oh, there you go.
So there's the results of our poll. So the motion to appoint KPMG LLP as external auditors for 2021 has been carried. We're now at item 9 of our agenda, the presentation of our reports. So as in the past, we'll consider all reports at the same time. So we'll later be looking for one motion to approve all of the reports as presented. So feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box as you think of them as you're listening to the reports. And then following the presentation of the reports, we'll pause and answer your questions. I'm now going to call upon Jack Lowe, Vice Chair, to assume the chair during the presentation of the reports.
I call upon Claire Fanning, Board Chair, to deliver the Chair's report.
Hello, my fellow OMISTA members. On behalf of your Board of Directors, I would like to provide you with a brief report on our activities this past year. It goes without saying that it was a very unusual year. When I last spoke with you in June of 2020 at our unavoidably late 2019 AGM, we were in the midst of the throes of the pandemic and working hard to understand what it meant to us as a cooperative financial institution and a cooperative employer. Although there was a lot of uncertainty, what we knew for sure was that we wanted to keep our cooperative values and principles up front in all of our discussions and decisions. And I'm pleased to say that we did. For example, when many of our members were hit by the effects of the pandemic and needed understanding while they tried to reorganize their financial affairs, OMISTA stepped in to defer payments on a significant number of loans and mortgages, both personal and commercial. We lived our cooperative values by believing in the spirit of working together to confront challenges and difficulties. We knew that OMISTA members would resume their payments as soon as they possibly could, and we are pleased to report that of the hundreds of accounts where payments were deferred, we have only a very small handful still pending the resumption of payments. We weathered that particular storm together, and we all came out better off in the end. The staff of our credit union, also in a period of great uncertainty, soldiered on and learned to work from home, often with children in the background, needing to quickly adopt new processes for meeting and working together. That included accelerating the implementation of new technologies that would allow our members to access services in new ways, while branch visits were not easily available or desirable. Staff put their heads down and put their members first, doubling down on what could be done and making sure members could reach them with questions or concerns. As a result of this commitment and effort, all employees continued to work on their regular schedules and no layoffs or reduced hours were required. Their focus on their work and their members translated into plenty of work for all, often more than usual. Our CEO, Tammy, and her management leadership team met frequently, always reviewing the current state of affairs and making quick course corrections where needed. Their flexibility and adaptability, along with the calm and reasoned leadership of their CEO, made for a working environment where everyone could focus on what needed to be done and not on the temporary chaos and confusion that could arise at any moment. Throughout this time, your board was kept well informed and met frequently in the early days, being sure that we understood the impacts of the necessary decisions and always mindful of our ultimate responsibility to protect the assets of our members. So overall, looking back on 2020, I think the dominant theme was one of the triumph of our cooperative system and business model. We have proven that we can meet challenges while remaining true to our values of cooperation, concern for community, self-help, and self-determination. The commitment to lead OMISTA through this unknown territory while staying true to these principles has only served to reinforce our cooperative culture and strengthen our bonds of trust. And although it is not over yet, we can see the light and are turning the corner to a new day. Our technology gains during this time have opened our eyes to the possible and the achievable, and we are very excited about where this is taking our future. In closing, the board would like to recognize the outstanding leadership of our CEO, Tammy Christopher, and her leadership management team, as well as the staff of OMISTA, who pulled together and created a very positive outcome from something that could have been much different. And we would be remiss not to thank all of our members who put their faith and trust in their credit union and allowed us to demonstrate that your faith and trust are well placed. I will leave the financials for our audit report, but suffice to say that our financial year was much more positive than it might have been, and we are well positioned for a good year in 2021. We look forward to hopefully reporting to you in person on that year from now on. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. I will now call upon Tammy Christopher, CEO, to deliver her report.
Thank you, Jack. Good afternoon, and thank you, members, for joining us today. As I was preparing for the delivery of this report, I looked back on my report from last year's AGM, where I talked with you about 2019 being a year to plan. We had utilized 2019 to get ready for the digital changes that were carefully being planned for the new decade. We had 2020 carefully mapped out. Although fluid, we knew what our goals would be for each quarter of 2020. As we entered the first quarter, we began the critical development of implementing an online account opening package. We also laid the foundation for a new mobile responsive website called Mobile Viewport. Together, these two projects would allow for an exceptional member experience and attract new digitally focused members. We did this work while also keeping a close eye on the state of the world, our country, our province, and ultimately our communities, as COVID-19 enclosed on our daily lives and forced us all into lockdown. OMISTA's leadership team swept into action and quickly implemented our business continuity pandemic plan. Financial services were deemed to be essential, and we needed to find a way to ensure we maintained our high level of member service while keeping everyone safe. It was necessary to temporarily close our Oromocto and Mountain Road branches and service all our members through our Fredericton branch and our Cornhill Street branch. We focused on deep cleaning our work areas, installing personal protective equipment, and instituting public health guidelines. This was a disruptive time. It was hard on everyone, but in the true cooperative spirit, we all adjusted, worked together, and found ways to continue providing exceptional levels of member service. OMISTA was able to pivot. We accelerated our move to digital. We implemented the use of Zoom for personal virtual meetings and utilized DocuSign to obtain signatures digitally. On top of that, though, we found a way to service all members in whatever manner they chose. Our exceptional employee team even found workarounds. They would meet members in the parking lot, slipping documents through their car door window when a wet signature was required by regulations. As our government rolled out programs to support Canadians, OMISTA was there to support our members. We facilitated the deferral of loan and mortgage payments for both retail and commercial members. We did so by deferring over 1,300 credit facilities and thus placed over $1.6 million back into the hands of our members. To support our small business owners, our collective credit union system worked with the EDC and launched the CEBA program. We facilitated 163 small business loans and injected $7.2 million to help small business members struggling with the effects of the pandemic. We remain active in this effort and are continuing to lobby the government for more support for those sectors that are highly impacted. It was a time in which our members needed us the most, and we carefully thought of ways in which we could provide the greatest value to our members. To support our local economy, we participated in the Loyal to Local Challenge. This was an Atlantic Canadian-wide campaign that challenged all credit union employees to go out and spend locally. Together with Atlantic Central, we provided each employee with $100 and a challenge. Spend it locally. Take a picture while doing so and share that picture on social media. This would bring attention to the local business and show our loyalty to local. Through this campaign, credit unions in Atlantic Canada injected over $67,000 into local economies. As interest rates continue to decline, OMISTA made the conscious decision to support our members financially. We maintained above average interest rates on our small business savings accounts, our community savings account, and for personal members, our investment savings account. Each of these accounts received 1% interest during 2020, at a time when the market was at record lows of 0.25% or less. This was our means of saying thank you for your patronage and to demonstrate our support to you. The management and employees of OMISTA Credit Union remain to be a partner for all our members, small business owners, and our communities. In a time when the pace of change has never been faster, we have been determined to find new ways and innovative ways to meet the demands and expectations of the next generation of credit union members, all the while maintaining our core values of fairness, trust, honesty, and service to all. Whether that service be in-branch performing transactions with a customer service representative, or receiving advice from a lending officer or an investment specialist, or from the comfort of your sofa, performing digital transactions through Member Direct. OMISTA will provide you with the service you have come to demand upon us. Much work has been done in 2020 despite the pandemic. We have created the new Credit Union Response Team, which is a dedicated resource for members who need to reach out to us via telephone or electronically. This enables other members of our team to focus a greater portion of their day on servicing you and understanding your unique needs. We also did a complete market analysis to ensure that we were offering you the best value and service at competitive prices on our personal account packages. We are pleased to be launching new service charge packages today, which will see over 4,300 members have reductions in their overall service charges. And you asked for it. E-transfers are being included for free in these packages. Work continues at the national level to bring members an alternative to our once global payment card. We continue to investigate the viability of a co-badge debit card, which will function very similarly to the old global payment card. We have also integrated the Calabria credit card with Member Direct. Members can now enjoy seeing their credit card activity with all their other accounts in Member Direct. There is no longer the need to go to the separate Calabria site and log on separately. Cybersecurity remains at the forefront. Our technology team is working diligently through an assessment of our risk from a technology standpoint. We are utilizing best-in-class templates and the NIST framework. With this, members will see increased security measures taken, like increased authentication or dual authentication. Speaking of security, for those members who receive e-transfers, I encourage you to set up auto deposit on your accounts. Auto deposit is a means to ensure that an e-transfer is not intercepted by hackers. It is easy to set up in Member Direct. 2020 was a year of tremendous disruption to all of our daily lives, And as we adjust to the new shades of recovery phases, to social distancing, physical distancing, self-monitoring, and isolation periods, it is my hope that all members remain healthy and safe. Now is the time that I must give thanks. Thank you to the wisdom and support of our board of directors, whom provided guidance and oversight during the most challenging time in history. Thank you to OMISTA's pandemic team, who worked sometimes late into the evenings or on the weekends to ensure that we stayed 2 steps ahead of the pandemic, always considering the effects of our decisions on our members and on your fellow employees. Thank you to the leadership team, who kept a keen focus and demonstrated immense flexibility and innovation. And above all, thank you to our branch employees, who put themselves out there every day to continue to provide exceptional service and support to our members. Your care, compassion, adaptability to change, and dedication can never be adequately measured. Thank you. So this year, OMISTA was unable to properly celebrate the service anniversaries of our dedicated and talented team. So please allow me to take a moment to recognize and celebrate not just these individuals, but the entire OMISTA team. Celebrating 5 years of service with OMISTA is Sean McKinley and Shirley Richard. Celebrating 15 years of service is Monica Curry, Don Russell, Tammy Christopher, and Matt Carter. Celebrating 20 years of exceptional service is Heidi Muncy, Lisa McLeod, and Angie Miner. And wow, celebrating 30 years of service is Anise Boudreau, Trine Wissink, Jackie Jardine, Asha Jamula, and Tammy Kinnear. And get this, celebrating 35 years of dedicated service is Ms. Patty Barton. Thank you to all. And now, to our members, thank you for placing your trust in OMISTA. It is always a pleasure to serve you. Thank you, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, Tammy. I'll now call upon Ajit Gautam, Audit Committee Chairperson, to deliver his report.
Sound and effective corporate governance is a priority for OMISTA Credit Union. The Credit Union Board of Directors remain an independent entity with the ability to effectively supervise management's operation of the credit union. It is the responsibility of the Audit Committee to periodically meet with the credit union management and external auditors to review matters relating to the quality of the financial reporting, internal control, the nature and extent and result of any audit, recommend the engagement of external auditors, review and report on the credit union financial statement to the board of directors. The committee is made up of 5 directors: Jack Lowe, Robert Carson, Simon Pacey, Claire Fanning, and Ajit Gautam, and is guided by the Audit Committee Charter. According to the credit union bylaws, the committee is required to hold regular meetings to ensure that an appropriate level of due diligence has been directed towards effective risk management and control. Since the onset of the pandemic, the committee elevated their oversight by holding bi-weekly meetings to review the performance of the credit union. This performance review included monthly forecast, lending performance, liquidity reporting, deferral payment reporting, CBA reporting, and increased risk monitoring. The committee also reviewed the quarterly report prepared by Concentra, which incorporates 5 years forward-looking information for projected profitability, asset liability matching, interest rate risk, and liquidity stress testing. The introduction of the new Credit Union Act resulted in development approval, and implementation of an enhanced liquidity management policy, which includes a detailed liquidity management plan, stress testing, and contingency funding plan. It also required development, approval, and implementation of a capital management policy and plan that will focus on long-term stability of our credit union. Together with the management, the audit committee recommended the audit firm KPMG to perform annual external audit. The committee met with the external auditors to receive the audit plan and discuss in detail the areas to be covered. After a review of the audited financial statement for the year ended December 31st, 2020, and with a net income of $838,936, the committee recommended their acceptance on February 22nd, 2020.
Thank you, Ajit. I'll now call upon Carrie Blair, audit partner with KPMG, to deliver the external auditor's opinion.
On behalf of our partners at KPMG, thank you for entrusting us with the important appointment as your independent auditors of OMISTA Credit Union. We have conducted our audit of OMISTA's financial statements in accordance with the Canadian auditing standards. These financial statements were prepared in accordance with international financial reporting standards. Our audit was designed to provide reasonable, not absolute, assurance that the financial statements are presented fairly and free from material misstatement. We have issued an unqualified audit opinion on February 24th, 2021. Our opinion outlines the responsibility of management and those charged with governance for the financial statements and the auditor for the audit of the financial statements. We have not performed procedures past the date of our audit opinion. Again, it is a privilege to be with you all today, serving as your independent auditor. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you, Carrie. I'll now call upon Asha Jamula, Director of Finance and Risk, to deliver the financial statements.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to take a few minutes to share some highlights from our 2020 audited financial statements. Audited financial statements were included in the electronic AGM materials, the link to which was sent to you via email. They can also be found on our website under corporate reports. The management of OMISTA Credit Union is responsible for the preparation of the financial statements and believes that they fairly present the credit union's financial condition in accordance with the requirements of the Credit Union Act and regulations and conform all material aspects with international financial reporting standards. We established internal controls necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error. Your board and management both consider these statements to be fairly presented. I will now take you through a summary of the highlights of our 2020 year. We will begin with our statement of financial position, which is found on page 1. This statement displays significant growth in assets from $267.73 million to $303.29 million, an increase of $35.55 million or 13.28%. We saw steady growth in our lending portfolio during 2020. Loans grew from $225 million to $234.33 million, an increase of $9.3 million or 4.15%. Despite the pandemic, we experienced significant growth in the mortgage lending due to a robust housing market in our regions. However, due to the impact of COVID-19, personal lending and dealer financing lending portfolios saw negative growth. We also witnessed members not utilizing line of credits as much as they had in pre-pandemic times. The commercial lending portfolio saw steady growth. On the liabilities side, the members' account portfolio grew from $248.4 million to $283.28 million. This was an increase of $34.9 million or 14.05% compared to the previous year of growth of 3.57%. There was a significant increase in demand deposits as we saw members not spending due to economic uncertainty during COVID-19. CEBA funding of $7.25 million also attributed to the demand deposits increase. With the deposit growth higher than lending growth, our investments increased by $24.28 million this year to $55.05 million. Overall, the balance sheet of the credit union experienced growth in 2020 and remains very strong. Moving on to the statement of comprehensive income on page 2 of the audited financial statements. Interest income earned from our lending activities was $10.07 million compared to $10.02 million during the prior year. Loans currently bear interest at an average annual rate of 4.36%, which is a decrease when compared to 4.56% for last year. Line of credit rate decreased to 5.41% compared to 6.13%, and rates on mortgages are down to 3.78% compared to 3.82% during the prior year. Moving on to the interest income on investments line. As a result of the downturn in the economic conditions due to COVID-19, the Bank of Canada lowered interest rates. This resulted in lower interest rates being earned on our investments. Even though OMISTA's investment portfolio increased this year, interest income is lower than previous year. OMISTA's investments include segregated liquidity, shares in Atlantic Central, and short-term deposits with both Concentra and Atlantic Central. Next line shows interest expense on members' deposits. The amount of interest paid to members for their deposits also decreased. This is primarily due to declining interest rates. Demand deposits bear interest at an average annual rate of 0.77%. Fixed-term deposits bear interest at 2.27%, and RRSPs and RRIFs bear interest at 2.56% and 2.51% respectively. Moving on to next line, OMISTA increased impairment losses on loans to $959,058 compared to $324,300 in the previous year. During this unprecedented time, management and your audit committee took into consideration unemployment rates, effects on the hardest hit industries, and loan deferrals to determine the appropriate level of general loan loss reserves we prudently should have. We took a cautious approach and set aside what we believe to be the necessary funds to adequately weather future concerns relating to potential losses in our lending portfolio. In 2020, we supported members with deferral program. Members could defer loan and mortgage payments for up to 6 months on both retail and commercial accounts. Most of these deferrals are back into payment mode, except a very small percentage of our commercial portfolio, which has been extended to 2021. Moving on to financial margin. Net of the above items totaled $6.2 million compared to $6.8 million, a decrease over the previous year. This was mainly due to lower interest rates and loan loss provisions. Next line shows the other revenue, which includes service charges, commissions, property rentals, and revenues from our wealth management offices, is reported at $2.3 million for the period. Now, moving to the next line, operating expenses consisting of the cost to maintain our premises, salaries, and the general operating costs of the credit union were closely monitored throughout 2020. Although there was an increase in spending for personal protective equipment, cleaning supplies, and deep cleansing in the branches, overall expenses were down as credit union saw significant savings related to travel costs, board-related expenses, etc. This allowed us to invest in equipment to enable remote and digital work processes like online meeting platforms and electronic signatures. Although there were 2 branches closed temporarily, all employees were kept employed during that time by deploying them to member support activities. Together, this resulted in a net decrease in operating expenses of 1.82% to $7.4 million in 2020. This leaves the credit union with before tax income of $1,114,112 and an after tax income of $838,936. Now, moving on to page 3 is the statement of changes in members' equity. This statement demonstrates for us how the retained earnings of the credit union have changed. We began the period with total equity sources of $14,768,330 and added net income of $838,936 and set aside the necessary amount to pay dividend to our preferred shareholders in the amount of $16,719. This leaves the credit union with a total equity of $15,590,547. The closing equity position of the credit union at December 31st, 2020 is 5.46% compared to 5.85% in the previous year. On page 4, you'll find the statement of cash flows, which essentially provides you with the sources and uses of cash for the year. This statement explains in detail how our cash position has changed throughout the year. And finally, beginning on page 5, you'll find the notes to the financial statements that will provide even more details on each line item of the statement of financial positions. The notes also contain detailed information regarding OMISTA's significant accounting policies. This concludes the review of financial statements. In a year filled with many challenges, overall, 2020 was a strong year for the credit union. I would like to thank everyone for your attention.
Thank you, Asha. With all the reports now being presented, I will return the chair back to Claire Fanning.
Thank you, Jack. So may I have a motion to accept the reports and the financial statements as presented?
Okay, we are looking for a mover and a seconder. Make sure you're all still with us. Look at that, so fast.
They hung in.
Richard Viancourt has so moved it, and Allison Clipperton has seconded it.
Okay, thank
Tracy
you.
McBean Fraser, try again. I know you can beat them. I know you can on the next one.
It's to be a little game, an online game. So is there any discussion on the motion? We're going to ask you to use your Q&A box again to type in any questions you may have, and we'll stop for a moment in case you do have any questions on any of those reports.
Remember, you use the Q&A box in the bottom hand of your screen, bottom right hand of your screen. There appears to be no questions, Madam Chair.
No questions for any of us. All righty. So you should see coming up a poll on your screen, and I'm going to ask you all to vote by choosing your selection and hitting submit.
Any time now, here we go. Whoa, 100%.
Oh, fantastic. So as you can see, the motion to accept the reports and approve the 2020 financial statements has been carried. So now we're going to move on to new business, item 10 of our agenda, and I'd like to welcome Mike Leonard, CEO of Atlantic Central and League Savings and Mortgage, who will provide us with an update on the credit union system in Atlantic Canada.
Good day, everyone, and thanks for including me as part of your annual general meeting. I want to congratulate the board and management for your tremendous efforts in 2020, perhaps one of the most challenging years any of us has had to manage through. And in true cooperative fashion, in the middle of the crisis, our Atlantic Credit Union system pulled together as a group and helped and supported each other. As you might expect, our first priority was the health and safety of our members and our team. We worked hard to ensure we supported the public health guidelines, which is why you would have seen changes in our branches throughout the year. But we also never lost sight of our direction. We continue to focus on key priorities like improving digital access for members and on providing wise financial guidance to give members the advice they needed. And so while members have had access to our digital banking app that empowers you to fulfill most of your day-to-day banking needs for the last several years, by the end of 2021, every credit union in Atlantic Canada will have full access to digital tools that will enable online account opening, lending, and deposit taking, along with full access to mobile pay platforms like Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and Google Pay. And that means that by the end of the year, members will have the full power of their credit union in the palm of their hands. And we'll be the first region in Canada to enable that for every credit union member. In these difficult times, we realized that our members wanted and needed financial advice. And with the challenges of meeting face-to-face, we increased our focus on financial advice through our social media channels. So if you don't follow us on social media, I encourage you to give us a try as a means of getting good financial insights when and where you want them. As we look ahead into 2021 and beyond, we'll continue to maintain our focus on providing wise financial advice and a great banking experience. I want to take a moment to thank your CEO, Tammy, for her tremendous leadership and support through a tumultuous year. And I think we showed the true power of the cooperative model in the way we worked together to address the unique challenges we faced in 2020. And we showed the best of what credit unions can be for the communities they serve. I look forward to continuing our journey together in 2021. Congratulations again on a successful year, and enjoy the rest of your annual meeting.
Thank you for that, Mike. It's always nice to have Mike participate in our AGM, even when it has to be virtual like that. It's good to hear from him. So now we're going to move on to new business item number 10B. I want to take a moment to introduce a new and exciting offer that we'll have for our members in 2021. With the approval of our new bylaws, we are introducing Class AA preferred shares to our members. A few features of the Class AA preferred shares are: they require the approval of the superintendent prior to any sale period. The shares are non-voting. They have an issue price of $100 per share. Only members of OMISTA are eligible to purchase them. They may only be redeemed subject to Section 44 of the Act and with the approval of the CEO or the Board of Directors. They're not covered by deposit protection, and they rank behind the Class C preferred shares. We'll be seeking approval from the superintendent to make our first offering of Class AA preferred shares available to members during Q3 of 2021. We anticipate the following to be set: an initial offering of 20,000 shares equivalent to $2 million. There will be a minimum purchase requirement of 10 shares or $1,000 worth. There will be a maximum purchase of 500 shares or $50,000 per member. Both retail and commercial members may purchase the shares. They'll be sold on a first come, first served basis, and the rate will be set at above average 5-year non-redeemable GIC rates. So it's our hope to begin offering these shares early in July, and we will provide our members with plenty of notice prior to the sale period of the shares. Keep an eye on our website and in branch for their promotion. So are there any questions on this topic? Catherine, we'll stop now for a minute to see if there are any questions.
If you have a question, you know where to put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, that question and answer box. Get those fingers typing if you have a question. How long does it take someone to type a question? I think that's probably it. I don't think we have any questions.
Okay, well, hopefully that's good news for everybody. I know we're excited about it on the board, as is Tammy.
Oh, Peter Pacey's decided he's going to buy $50,000 worth of shares right off the bat. Just
Okay,
April Fools, April Fools, just kidding.
He's raising his hand early. All right, I think we're going to have a good success with that offering. Okay, so we're going to move on to our retiring director recognition. And this year we have 3 retiring directors. The foundation of OMISTA's board is the contribution made by our individual directors, all of whom give of their expertise and time for the greater good of OMISTA and our membership. This year we're recognizing Robert Carson, Bill Hansen, and George Butters. Robert has served on our board since 2012. Along with his committee work, he has served as past chair of our nominating committee and more recently as chair of our sustainability committee. We've always been able to count on Robert to bring us back to our roots, to remind us of our origins, and to help us find balance between progress and change while not forgetting our history and co-op values. Clearly, the roots run deeply, as Robert's father was a founding member of OMISTA, and Robert himself was an original CN Shops member. So his passion for the credit union movement and OMISTA specifically were well established in the Carson family. Robert, we want to thank you for all of the time and effort you've contributed to our credit union and wish you and Betty a continued happy and healthy retirement. Bill Hansen. Bill has a long history of serving on OMISTA's board, having been elected for the first time in 2000. However, Bill was also part of OMISTA long before being elected to the board. Being a CN Shops employee, Bill joined OMISTA upon joining CN. He has often shared his story of the support OMISTA gave to him in his early days as a young man starting his newly married life with Bernice, and he has been a committed and loyal member since then. In addition to the numerous terms Bill has served as director and chair on board committees, he has also served as chair and vice chair of the board. His almost 21 years of service were as continuous as our act allowed, taking the obligatory break after 9 years, but returning to serve again. As members of OMISTA, we are all beneficiaries of Bill's commitment and devotion to the movement and our credit union. Always a peacemaker and conciliatory soul, Bill helped us balance progress with the need to listen and hear each other, a true cooperative value at work. Thank you, Bill, for all you have given us. We wish you and Bernice many more happy years of retirement. That includes lots of golf, family, and the multitude of other voluntary work you continue to do and love. And George Butters. George has served on OMISTA's board since 2013 as our director from the Fredericton area, but always speaking for all credit union members. George has served on numerous committees as well as serving as board secretary these past several years. George brought a strong background in print and visual media to our board, along with a deep understanding of digital technologies and a passion for bringing the best digital services to our members as quickly as possible. He has kept the board table mindful of the need to connect with our membership in meaningful and measurable ways, and fostered a sense of urgency about our investment in digital services so we could respond to the ever-changing needs of our membership. Additionally, George is currently finishing a term on the League Data Board, serving their needs for the past several years. Having recently relocated to Halifax, we wish George and Catherine lots of success and happiness as they open a new chapter in their lives in beautiful Nova Scotia. Thank you, George, for all you have done for the members of OMISTA.
Very proud of my man.
Yes, yes. We won't embarrass him though, but we could, couldn't we?
We could embarrass him in all kinds of ways.
So at this point, I'm going to ask if there's any other new business to come before the meeting. And if you do have any other new business, please type "I have new business" into the Q&A box, and we'll wait a moment to see if anybody has anything to bring forward.
Now, if there is new business, please say, Madam Chair, your member. Okay, you have to say your name. You have to put it in the Q&A. Then we can find you and we can open your mic, just like we did when two people inadvertently put their hands up. So any questions, you can just, aha, again, Peter, what's with the chat? How many times do we have to say Q&A? Oh, no, look, he changed. Okay, there you go. Peter is in there and he would like to speak. So George, if you may open, you can find his mic. I'm just going to send you an invitation to turn on your mic there, Peter. Hang in there. George is trying to find that for you.
I'm having trouble finding Peter. His hand was up and I can't find him.
Peter, put your hand back up, would you? Makes it easier.
Put two up.
Makes it you easier to find. So if you want to just click on your raise hand thing there.
I don't see Peter in the list anymore.
Oh dear.
Peter, where are you?
No, he's not coming up in the list. But Rayanne has her hand up now.
Okay. Maybe Peter will come back.
Let's hope.
Sorry, my bad.
Rayanne's microphone is now on.
Okay, your microphone is on, Rayanne.
Sorry, my bad. I just had to do that just to
Oh,
end the
you
meeting.
did that. Oh, you did it
Testing it
too.
out again, yeah.
I was wondering what was going on.
What are we gonna do with you people?
I
Really,
don't
really. I know. Okay, Peter, you know that little raised hand, can you put it up? We don't see you in the,
Got him.
you got him?
Aha.
Okay,
One sec.
excellent.
Persistence pays off.
So now, Peter, it's that little microphone on the far left-hand side of your screen if you want to
Yeah,
just.
good luck.
There you are. You're up. We hear
Can you
you.
hear me now?
Yes,
We
we
can.
can.
We thought
Sorry,
it was
I'm
a,
on
we
my
thought it was a
iPhone.
trick.
Oh, you're
I'm
on your
on my
iPhone.
iPhone, and it's a small screen, and I've got bad hands.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't really new business, but I do want to say this in all sincerity. I'm so pleased to be a member of OMISTA, and I'm an old Yorkie, as some of you will know. And I don't mean I'm a Yorkie Terrier. I'm a York Credit Union member since, if I can use the term, Christ was a cowboy. I'm sorry.
A while back.
Yeah, it's a long time, but I'm so proud to be a member of the credit union movement, and I want to say to everyone online here now how proud I am of how well we have adapted to COVID. I want to especially recognize the staff at our Fredericton branch because they've all been so good to all of us as we've gone through this terrible pandemic. I call it the pandemonium. And I'd also, I'm speaking not only as a member personally, I'm speaking for my wife who's here with me, who's also a member. And I also want to speak from the point of view of the producer of the Calathumpians, our nonprofit company, who's been a member for many years as well. And we were lucky to be able to get the COVID loans through the federal government, but obviously also through OMISTA, and that whole process was so well managed by not only our loan team in Fredericton, but out of OMISTA Central, and as a longtime cooperator and credit union member, I want to say how proud I am of the entire movement, and I want to thank the directors who are retiring, especially George Butters, who represents us from Fredericton, and George has done such a great job in that way, and I'm so pleased to see that 3 of our members have had such, are not members, but staff people have had such long longevity with the movement, and they've been so good to us as well. I'm just really proud to be an OMISTA member, and I know that when York got enveloped by OMISTA, some of us were a bit worried that we'd lose the personal touch, but I want to say, after how many years it's been, I'm not sure, 5, 10 or.
Oh, we lost you, Peter.
Oh, and I was enjoying that so much.
Yeah, he must have lost his connection with his phone.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, I can try
You
to
want
bring
to
him
pause?
back.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'll try to bring him back again.
All righty.
I'm sorry, I must have muted.
There you are. There you are.
Somebody muted me, honest to God.
I
don't blame
George.
I get
Was
cut
it
off
you,
a lot.
right? Was it you?
Yeah, no, but just let me finish by saying, look, thank you so much. This was a great meeting, and even though we're all isolated and what have you, I'm so proud of how well we've adapted this year, and hopefully things will change, and we'll be able to come by bus to a meeting next year and have fun on the way down and the way back as we've done before. Thank you so much.
And the Calathumpians will be performing, right?
Exactly. I'd be happy to do that.
There you go. There you
Right
go.
on.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Peter.
Peter, for
Thank
that.
you.
That's, we really appreciate that, and that's a fitting ending for our meeting. And we also really appreciate having your son on our board because he's making a really important contribution as a director. So thank you for Simon as well. So are there any further comments or questions from anybody? Or new business? We don't seem to have anything more.
Simon says, thanks, Dad.
Aw.
On that note.
Okay, so if there's no further business,
Further business, Madam Chair.
to be carried on. Before I adjourn the meeting, I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone for their participation this afternoon. I know it's not easy to sit through a Zoom meeting for a couple of hours. It's not easy to sit for a couple hours, period. And to navigate the system and participate as you did, we really appreciate that. And since the onset of COVID, we've all had to make so many adjustments in our lives. So on behalf of Tammy, our CEO, and all of our board, and Catherine, we want to wish all of you safety, good health, and prosperity. We're here for you to help you through this, and we'll finish it up together. And hopefully next year we will be together in a meeting room, and we'll be able to shake hands or hug or whatever we want. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend and wonderful Easter weekend, long weekend.
Easter.
And our meeting is adjourned.